Hello, my name is Catherine Sendak, and welcome to CEPA's State of the Alliance, a series bringing together thought leaders from Europe and North America to deliberate the most pressing challenges facing allies and partners. Today, I am honored to welcome Dr. Damir Črnčec, the Defense State Secretary for Slovenia. For the past year, Ukraine has skillfully defended itself against Russian aggression. Today, we reflect on the transatlantic community's role that they have played and will need to continue to play to secure Ukraine's victory. Thank you so much for joining us today for this discussion on State of the Alliance.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the invitation to be able to discuss such an important topic that is now all around us.
Yes, we are more than a year now into Russia's full-scale invasion into Ukraine. I wanted to start out with your assessment of the alliance's support to Ukraine up to this point.
The war was a wake-up call. It didn't start 1 year ago, or 1 year and 1 week ago. It actually started in 2014, which is now 9 years ago, when in February 2014, the first act of aggression was committed against Ukraine. And at that time, we all saw that in good month time, the Crimea was gone, and also the Donbas, big portion of Ukrainian territory, and Western societies, Western governments, and all of us reacted to that. We made a response. But as we see now, looking back, it was not the strong enough. It was basically the one who brought us to the situation that 8 years later on, we saw the Act 2. Of course, the diplomacy was working. We have Minsk agreements and all those. A lot of effort has been done not to prevent what then happened. But at the end of the day, we saw what happened. So we are now in the state that we have in the center of Europe, so to speak, we have a war. Distance from Slovenia to Ukraine by air is only 500 kilometers, just across the Hungary, and you are in Ukraine. So it was also a huge wake-up call, not just for the Slovenia or Slovenes, but of course for NATO, European Union. And what changed, and what we are seeing, is such a strong collaborative response by NATO and EU. Nobody expected this. Putin for sure not.
That's a wonderful point. As you said, 9 years ago, we had a response against the illegal annexation of Crimea and eastern Ukraine, but perhaps not strong enough. And to your point, how do you consider and evaluate the security and cohesion of the alliance as it stands now? And are there things that we should be doing to increase that cohesion over the next year?
To put it cynically or sarcastically, Putin is uniter, because he united even more these transatlantic links, bonds. European Union and NATO came out with the same voice, and it's lasting. It's not going away. It's here and it's going to stay. And this is the strongest possible message. And above that, what personally I believe is really what kind of struck me personally, when Finland and Sweden decided to abandon their neutral status, and they show willingness to join NATO. And two countries which were the role models of being neutral countries changed their mind in the light of this aggression and said, no, we want to join now to this club. This is really the response that probably nobody expected prior to what happened in February 24th, 2022.
Yes, I think everyone has been just so pleasantly surprised at Finland and Sweden's desire to join the alliance, strengthen the alliance even more. And as you said, Putin was not expecting that part of it at all. To NATO, I understand that Slovenia is dedicating to hit the 2% defense spending pledge with NATO within the next 5 years. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the defense investments that you all are considering. And given Russia's full-scale invasion a year ago, has that changed any of your defense priorities?
Exactly that happened. Russian aggression in Ukraine is a driving force, not just for Slovenia, but also for the European nations and Europe, who saw or had attitude towards the war that this is something obsolete, this is gone, it's not going to happen ever again in our territories, in our geopolitical sphere, but reality is here. The reality check was there and it's ongoing, and also Slovenia is part of this. So what we've done in Slovenia, in MOD especially, and of course within the government, we shortened the period when we are going to reach 2% of the GDP for defense. We are investing 20% of our annual defense spending for investments. It happened already in 22, and it's going to happen this year, next year. And of course, the long-term plan of development Slovenian forces till 2040, it's written in the way that we show very clearly what are our priorities. So-called force goals that we kind of signed up to as a NATO member, and we said we are going to deliver, such as 2 battalions, medium, one is a battalion group, another one is reconnaissance battalion, and then some other enablers. We are going to build these capacities or capabilities sooner than it was previously, even last year, previously planned. So we are going to do it parallel at the same time, not one after another. So when I try to look at going back, I would say that in Slovenia now we are seeing the defense investing cycle that is probably similar to the one we had prior we joined to the NATO. We joined in 2004 in NATO and European Union, and those years prior to that were kind of, I would say, golden age for the defense system. And now, 20 years after, we are seeing kind of similar processes ongoing.
Throughout the alliance, we're seeing increased urgency, I think, from all of our allies to make further investments. And to that point, I understand that one of the national priorities for your security is focus on cyber resilience in Slovenia. I'd be really interested to understand more about how you all are approaching cyber capabilities and resilience. And is there anything the alliance should be doing more of or better when it comes to cyber?
Yes, we all know that cyber war is the one that is ongoing for not years but decades. We also saw last year we were exposed to the attacks as MOD or nation in Slovenia to different actors that try to penetrate our systems. It's not just the case, of course, of Slovenia, but it's the case of the NATO member states, European Union states. And of course, we are building strengthening capabilities back home, bringing people who are the expert together, even stronger than we used to. Here I have to thanks to the US, because we are going to do some joint projects also in this sense back home in Slovenia to build some active cyber capabilities. And they are going to be not just on dispose of Slovenia, but also for the region, for the colleagues in NATO member states who are also in Western Balkans. So we are going to work on that. And this year, by coincidence or even not, we are having in early May quite an important NATO conference on cyber intel threats ongoing in the whole alliance. We are going to host this event, and I think it's going to be quite a good opportunity for in-depth exchanges on the cyber domain. So actually, one of the priorities also in our plan, of course, is to strengthen these capabilities, of course, and you cannot fight this fight by your own. It's a joint effort.
Absolutely. I think as we look at some of those joint efforts, we are all subjected to cyber attacks every day, right? Each of our countries. So in terms of taking it back to Ukraine and the situation that we're seeing on the ground, I'm really interested in your perspective about, the understanding that a free and secure Europe cannot happen without a victory in Ukraine. What, in your mind, does victory in Ukraine look like, and what kinds of assistance do you think the alliance needs to keep providing in order to ensure that victory?
This is really the most important question, what the victory looks like. We all know that there are wars, and at the end of the wars, there are green tables, and there are agreements, and we are going to see end of this war. We don't know when, and under what kind of conditions. And of course, it's a battle of perceptions. If you ask Ukrainians, for them, the picture is clear. Having back a sovereign country with full territory under their control, now they have around 18% of their territory that is occupied.
Yes.
And if you look through the lenses of Putin, he annexed through his system, also in the parliament, the Crimea, the Donbass, the new regions now. So for them, this is Russia now. And of course, we are saying, the West is saying, the global community is saying, this is aggression, it's illegal, it's against international law. The things has to go back under the umbrella of international law. A responsibility, the one who are responsible had to be called in front of the justice. But are we going to see this all? Time will tell. So at the end of the day, the victory on the ground, militarily-wise, to achieve for one or other side, if I go now to be a little bit of military analyst, I would say that we are seeing attrition war, that we are seeing the war that has similarities with WW1, World War I.
Oh, absolutely.
We see the trenches, but we see the drones also. So we have combination of totally modern and totally old. Does the one or other army has critical numbers to break through and to, from the Ukrainian side, liberate all the territories, or from the Russian side to get even more? I think that this is now the question that is on the table. And I just want, when we are talking about victory, bring us a little bit back 1 year ago. Did we at all expect that this war will happen? And then that Ukraine will last, that Ukraine will survive 3 days.
Right.
So Ukraine showed us that impossible is possible. So we are very, I think that we shouldn't, or we must not fall into the trap of being, or start to talk about the fatigue, that we are fatigued because they are losing their lives. So as long as Ukraine is willing to do what is right, it's our moral obligation to support them in this fight. Absolutely. And that's it.
Absolutely. You bring up a wonderful point of what we're seeing on the battlefield in Ukraine, which is this combination of traditional, conventional warfare combined with the latest technology that we're seeing, like drones and, you can name it. There's tons of things going on. From your perspective, as we take a long-term view, what should the alliance be focused on in terms of resilience and sustainable defense and deterrence as we move forward?
We heard a lot of, or we read a lot of articles about how we are lacking ammo. We just supported one country in one fight, and we emptied our stocks.
Right.
So we saw how we forgot about traditional military logistics, having stocks of ammunition, having factories who are producing this kind of ammunition or military capabilities. So we all know that we have to go back to think a little bit more militaristically, or through classical geopolitical lenses, where territory matters, physical domain, and where also matters to have the military who has the capability to sustain the fight, to have not just for 1 week ammunition or for 2 weeks, but for years probably. So we saw that we emptied our stocks. We have the problem with the barrels, with the production of the barrels, who also, after some shooting period, they kind of break down, and you cannot repair them. You have to have new ones, and you have to have the production for that. So what is the kind of bottom line? We realized we have to not just invest, but we have to provide ourselves with enough stocks, and also with the capabilities that are going to fill up these stocks to be then in the position to be to say in the position of being deterrent to possible opponent, you don't want to fight with us because we are ready for you.
Mm-hmm. We show that strength.
You cannot win this war.
Yes. Those are some valuable lessons learned about our own capacity and capability moving forward. Well, thank you so much for joining our conversation today. And thank you so much for joining this discussion on CEPA State of the Alliance. For more information, please visit cepa.org and follow CEPA's social media accounts to stay up to date on analysis and upcoming events.
Thank you.